6 spine-chilling internet encounters, terrifying weirdos revealed in unexplained online mysteries. Sarah's fingers trembled as she clicked through the chilling tales online. The harmless watcher, it read, the word sending icy shivers down her spine. How could a figure lurking in the shadows be harmless? It all began innocently enough, just part of her nightly ritual, scrolling through forums filled with stories that haunted even the bravest souls. Yet, tonight felt different. Her heart raced as she read chilling accounts, families describing the proximity of eerie figures on their lawns, faceless watchers standing at the edge of playgrounds, a creeping feeling that settled uncomfortably in her gut. Those stories were spine-chilling. They mirrored Sarah's own experiences. It was late-night drives home from work when she'd catch fleeting glimpses of figures darting into the dark. Just shadows, but what if they were more? Over the next hour, she lost herself deeper in the abyss of these unsettling accounts. Each chilling post pinned the dread within her tight, squeezing at her heart like a vice. Local teens hanging too long near the park. It sounded innocuous, but tonight, it felt like a warning. One shared experience after another, a tapestry of fear weaving through the digital pages. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Unease twisted in her chest. Was Maplewood not as safe as everyone assumed? The thought gnawed at her, unraveling weeks of peace. Stories shared by fellow parents blended into nightmares lurking in her mind. Every clue, every message, tightened the filter through which she viewed her neighborhood. Then came the cryptic messages. Emma had received a message from a stranger, "I'm your guardian." At first, Sarah dismissed it as a prank, but dread loomed heavy. Why was someone taking such a keen interest in Emma? The heaviness in her chest turned into panic. She needed to know. Mark. Her neighbor. He was always popping over for coffee, smiling and friendly. His casual chats suddenly felt excessive. What was behind those friendly eyes? Panic flared, a sense of urgency, a primal instinct to protect her daughter against a threat growing closer with every heartbeat. As the sun dipped below the horizon, shadows deepened in their familiar surroundings. With Emma's safety at stake, she ventured outside. What would she find? Hope flickered. This isn't how Maplewood was supposed to be. Determined, she approached Mark's garage, the golden light from their back porch illuminating his space. Then she spotted a hidden compartment slightly ajar, daring her to delve deeper. Inside, her breath hitched, horror engulfing her at the sight of familiar faces, snapshots of her daughter among others. It was chilling. The walls of her own home began to close in as footsteps crunched behind her. She froze, every hair on her body prickling with fright. What if normalcy in Maplewood was an illusion? What if the lurking figure wasn't the only danger? In that heart-stopping moment, she realized trust had shattered into a million shards. Who could she protect when even neighbors wore facades? The answer lurked just out of sight. The footsteps grew louder, a menacing crunch cutting through the quiet night. Sarah's heart raced, her instincts screamed at her to run, but her feet felt glued to the ground. She dared a glance over her shoulder, dread choking her breath as she caught sight of Mark silhouetted against the porch light. His expression was unreadable, shadows masked any glimmer of innocence. "Sarah?" His voice was casual, but a chill ran down her spine at the way it echoed in the night air, gleeful and sinister. "What are you doing out here?" The photos burned in her mind like a brand. They were reminders that no one was who they seemed. Their friendly exchanges were threads in a web of deceit. Just, looking around, she managed to stammer, forcing a shaky smile that felt foreign to her lips. Mark stepped closer, his features more pronounced now, a predator stalking his prey. The beam of light from behind him cast him in an almost angelic glow, but no halo could disguise the smirk creeping upwards at the corners of his mouth. I thought I heard something too. She needed to act fast, to distract him. I found something interesting in your garage. The lie tumbled out of her mouth before she could stop it. Mind if I take a look? His eyes flared with something akin to confusion, or was it fury? She couldn't tell. Why would you want to do that? There's nothing in there for you. The veiled warning wasn't lost on her. Sarah's pulse thundered in her ears as she played the words over in her head. But she wasn't about to back down. I wanted to see that old bike you had. Emma could use it, right? Feigning nonchalance, she stepped forward. Just close enough to gauge him, to see him more clearly. Mark's smile widened slightly, exposing teeth that shouldn't have looked so sharp. You really think she needs that? Just a relic from my childhood. His laughter sent a wave of nausea rolling through her. The darkness intensified, a wall closing in. She had to leave. Logic urged her to turn and flee, but something held her motionless, fear interwoven with a desperate need to uncover the truth. Her mind raced with possibilities. While she considered her options, Mark took a cautious step forward. You know, Sarah, curiosity can be dangerous. His tone danced dangerously close to a threat, and a fire ignited within her. No, she couldn't let him intimidate her. I'm just doing what any mother would, looking out for her child, she shot back, trying to sound firm but feeling the tremor in her voice. Are you sure about that? He replied, tilting his head, his gaze piercing through her facade. And suddenly, something shifted in the air. A breeze wafted through the trees, rustling the leaves like whispers in the dark. The atmosphere thickened with dread, and she knew if she didn't act fast, she'd lose her chance. Look, I think I left my keys in the car, she stammered suddenly, eyes darting beyond him into the yawning shadows of the yard. Without thinking, she pivoted. She bolted towards the house, heart hammering, adrenaline pumping in her veins. Sarah, wait. His voice called after her, a chilling echo that bit into her resolve, but she couldn't stop. As she reached the porch, adrenaline surged. Gripping the door's handle, she hurled herself inside, slamming it shut behind her, breathless and shaking. She pressed her back against the door, heart pounding like a war drum. But maybe she wasn't safe yet. The soft creak of the floorboards upstairs sent another wave of fear crashing over her. Had he followed her? Sucking in sharp breaths, she realized she wasn't alone. Shadows lurked, gathering in the corners of her home like dark thoughts. Had her sanctuary become a trap? And below the hollow silence, a distant echo of laughter sent chills skating across her skin. What now? She whispered to herself. In that moment, her phone buzzed with a notification, a chilling reminder from the stranger. I'm watching. What did that mean? Who could it be? Uncertainty wrapped around her throat, tightening until she struggled to breathe. The terror had deepened, and the answer she sought felt further away than ever. Was she about to uncover the truth or walk directly into a nightmare? Sarah's heart pounded in her ears, drowning out every sound around her. The notification glowed ominously on her phone screen, illuminating the darkness in her living room. I'm watching. The words gripped her throat like a vice, squeezing out reason and replacing it with sheer terror. She backed away from the door, unsure of where to go. Every corner seemed to whisper her name, every shadow a potential threat. The creaking upstairs continued, a slow, deliberate sound, and she squinted toward the staircase, dread pooling in the pit of her stomach. Emma, she murmured, remembering her daughter was upstairs, blissfully unaware of the danger. The thought sent a chill sweeping through her body. If only she were up there, Sarah thought. She could rally that resilient spark of hope inside her. But that was a fairy tale. Reality was Mark's unnatural smile and the unseen eyes of a stranger creeping into her home. Her instincts screamed at her to escape. She needed to reach Emma, to comfort her, to protect her. She grabbed her phone, praying it wouldn't flicker out on her, wouldn't turn into another burden. Another sound, this one sharper, glass shattering somewhere deeper within the house. The hair on her arms stood on end as urgency overcame her fear. With trembling hands, she shimmied toward the staircase, her breath coming out in quick, shallow gasps. "Stay quiet," she whispered to herself as she carefully placed each foot on the steps. The laugh echoed again, a chilling sound that seemed to vibrate through the walls. It was deep, guttural. Unfamiliar. Not Mark. Fear coiled in her gut as she reached the top, scanning the dim corridor. "Emma, sweetheart." Impossible to keep the tremor from her voice, she called out softly, praying her daughter would answer. But the hallway was silent, coated in a thick fog of dread. One door stood ajar, Emma's room. Shadows flickered behind the threshold, and she felt drawn to it, like a moth to a flame. She paused, heart racing, guilt gnawing at her. What if the thing lurking beyond the door was more dangerous than she could handle alone? "Don't be afraid," she murmured, crawling toward the door as if it might slam shut any moment. In one swift motion, she pushed it wide open. The room was empty. Emma's bed lay undisturbed, blankets pulled tightly, her toys neatly arranged in a corner. But where was her daughter? An empty, sinking feeling filled the space where relief should have blossomed. The world outside the window shifted, branches scraped against the glass, looking almost like hands reaching in, wanting to pull her back into the night. The feeling of being watched grew sharper, coiling around her neck with each passing moment. "Mom?" The voice came from the bathroom, soft and small, and Sarah's heart leaped. "Emma." She rushed to the closed door, but before she could knock, the doorknob twisted slowly. A figure stood behind the frosted glass. Too tall, too dark. Panic flared within her chest. She lunged toward the door, her hand ready to shove it open before it could do the unthinkable. Who was in there with her daughter? But the figure shifted, its movement jerky, unnatural. Then, it spoke. "You should have left while you could get away from her." Sarah screamed, adrenaline coursing through her. She pushed against the door, ready to break it down, her mind racing with worst-case scenarios. But before she could act, the door swung open, and Emma stood there wide-eyed, staring at something over Sarah's shoulder. It didn't take long for Sarah to realize she wasn't alone anymore. A pair of eyes appeared behind Emma, watching with malevolent delight. And then everything went black. The last thing she heard was that laugh again, echoing into the void, filling her with an absolute, bone-chilling despair. Who had taken her daughter? Or had something even worse already begun? What had she unknowingly invited into her life? Light crashed back into Sarah's vision, but everything was askew. She jolted upright on the floor, gasping for breath. Emma's room, cloaked in shadows just moments before, now burst with the harsh glow of her bedside lamp that flickered unnaturally. "Emma?" The name slipped from her lips, a desperate prayer. Everything felt unreal, as if she were waking up from a terrible dream. Confused and panicked, she scrambled to her feet, searching the room. The figure was gone, but a lingering dread hung heavy in the air, thick as smoke. "Mom!" Emma burst through the door, her small frame trembling, eyes wide and glistening. Relief coursed through Sarah's veins like ice. "I'm scared." "Come here, baby." Sarah breathed, ushering her daughter into her arms. The warmth of Emma's body anchored her, stripping away the fear, but only for a moment. "Mom, there was someone in my closet," Emma said, voice barely above a whisper, the words hanging heavy between them. "I don't care, it doesn't matter." Sarah shook her head, trying to push the nagging thought away. The weight of the dark corners of the room pressed in around them. "We need to get out of here." "Mom, no." Emma clutched her arm tightly. I'm serious. I heard them laughing. Something is wrong. A chill crept down Sarah's spine. The laugh that had twisted in her ears like a serpentine whisper. It could have just been a ghost of her imagination playing tricks on her, but Emma's wide-eyed terror made her blood run cold. We can't stay here. Sarah wiped away the cold sweat on her forehead, her resolve building. She grabbed Emma's hand, and together, they made for the door. But as they stepped into the hallway, a wall of darkness descended, the light from Emma's room dimming to shadows. The laughter came again, growing closer, more persistent, a sinister echoing jingle that twisted into something resembling words, "Stay with us." "What is that?" Emma gasped, pulling closer to her mother. "I don't know, but we need to go." Sarah forced her legs to move, urging Emma forward with every ounce of strength she had left. They rushed down the hallway, shadows stretching ominously toward them, almost as if they were alive. The stairs loomed ahead, a daunting trek into the unknown. Sarah's foot slipped, and for a fleeting second, she teetered dangerously. "Hold on tight, Emma." With a surge of adrenaline, she caught herself, grabbing the railing with a grip that could break bone. As they descended, the laughter multiplied, filling the air with a cacophony of twisted glee. It was all around them now, an invisible storm. Then, suddenly, the front door slammed shut, the sound reverberating like a clap of thunder through the house. They were trapped. "Mom!" Emma cried, heart-racing panic lacing her voice. "No!" Sarah shouted back, forcing herself to stay calm. "We will not let them take us." She ran to the door, twisting the doorknob wildly. "It's locked. It's—" The laughter crescendoed above them, mocking, spiraling into hysteria. The walls felt like they were closing in, the dark entities their unwelcome guests. The window. As an idea flickered in her mind, a bolt of hope sent adrenaline coursing through her system. They could escape. "Emma, we're going through the window." "Mom, it's too high." The worry in her daughter's voice only fueled Sarah's determination. "Trust me." She yanked the window open, the sound slashing through the laughter. Outside loomed the gnarly branches of an oak tree, a lifeline dangling just within reach. "Come on, Emma, hurry." Just then, a shadow moved behind her, a grotesque silhouette dripping with malice. Sarah turned, her shoulders tightening, heart thundering in her chest. The thing was back, looming large and ready to pounce. But then it spoke again, the voice cutting through the air sharp as glass. "You should have left while you could." The words echoed in the dark, a cruel reminder of their situation. "Mom!" Emma screamed as the figure lunged, and just like that, as shadows collided with her vision, the world blackened once more. Sarah felt herself getting pulled into the void, but amidst the abyss, one question screamed at her, a chilling realization etched in terror. What if leaving was never an option at all? And what awaited them was far worse than they ever imagined. Sarah's instincts screamed at her, a primal urge to fight or flee. The darkness enveloped her, pulling her into an emptiness that swallowed her whole. Just when she thought she would be lost forever, a sudden flash broke through the shadows, painting the room in a ghastly light. "Emma!" she shouted, her voice lost in the void, echoing back to her in a cruel tease. She felt her body jerk as if yanked by invisible strings, then the world around her collapsed into a harsh, bright reality. They were back in Emma's room, but something was deeply wrong. The walls pulsed with a sickly green glow, the shadows writhing in a sick dance. Emma was slumped against the bed, her eyes wide, staring past Sarah with a horror that turned the blood in her veins to ice. "Mom, it's back," Emma whispered, her voice trembling as she pointed toward the closet. A grotesque figure lurked in the darkness. Dark eyes glimmered like shards of glass, its mouth stretched into a twisted smile that seemed to mock their fear. The laughter came again, this time louder, an infectious, terrifying chorus that sent tremors through Sarah's core. "Stay with us," whispered the figure, the words weighing heavy like stones dropping into a still lake, sending ripples of terror through the air. "No!" Sarah panted, wild desperation clawing at her throat. She rushed toward Emma, her heart hammering, as if it could beat its way to safety. "We have to go now." She grabbed Emma and backed away slowly, keeping her eyes fixed on the door, now a solid barricade against their escape. The laughter morphed into gibbering, chaotic voices echoing in her ears, each word a dagger of dread. "Why do you fight? We play forever in the dark, Mom. It's coming." Emma shrieked, her little body tensing in fear. "Just hold on to me." Sarah felt her breath quicken, panic threatening to overwhelm her. She needed to think. The outline of the figure twisted and contorted, stretching toward them like a dark hand reaching from the shadows, each movement deliberate and mocking. "You will never leave, you belong here," it hissed. Desperation ignited within her. With a surge of adrenaline, Sarah dashed to the window again. Ignoring the paralysis gripping her heart, she yanked it open, feeling the night air stab against her face like icy needles. "Emma, climb!" But before she could grasp her daughter's arm, the figure lunged, faster than she could react, blocking their path. The dark shape filled the doorway, its grin spreading wider, revealing jagged teeth that gleamed with malicious anticipation. "Don't resist," it taunted, its voice slithering into Sarah's thoughts, filling her mind with images of despair. "Join us. Play forever. Get away from her." Sarah screamed, feeling warm tears slide down her cheeks, but she wouldn't back down. The figure moments away from them flickered like a faulty light bulb, hesitation lingering in the air. Yet, she could feel its intention, the raw hunger, and it seeped into her bones. She was ready to fight, but was there even a chance against something so dark? With her heart racing, Sarah whispered a fierce promise to herself and pushed Emma toward the window. "Jump. I'll be right behind you." Just as Emma's foot touched the ledge, the room shuddered, the walls constricting like a snake ready to strike. The figure's laughter descended into a shriek anguished and triumphant while the air grew thick, suffocating them, drowning Sarah's resolve. But she wouldn't let fear win. With all her might, she lunged toward the window after Emma, the laughter pulsating in the air, growing louder, more desperate. A sharp pain pierced through her chest. The world around her shattered like glass as she felt her foot slip on the edge. Darkness clawed at her as she fell into the unknown, her last thoughts spiraling into a haze of dread. And in the darkness, she heard a child's laughter echoing, taunting what had she just awakened? A flicker of light danced far away, just out of reach. Was there hope, or was it merely another tempting trap? Darkness enveloped Sarah, the fall stretching into an eternity. The children's laughter haunted her, growing richer in tone, full of glee as if they reveled in her peril. She braced for the impact, heart thrumming wildly, but then nothing. The laughter faded, replaced by an eerie silence. She found herself lying on a cold, hard surface, the air thick and stagnant. Terror pricked at her skin. She opened her eyes, instinctively grasping around her. Her fingers brushed against something wet and sticky. Panic shot through her. Was it blood? With stifled breath, she pushed herself up, brushing off the remnants of fear clouding her mind. "Emma! Emma!" she called, her voice hoarse, wobbling in the stillness. The only response was the distant echo of her own cry, swallowed by the darkness surrounding her. Gradually, her vision adjusted to the dimness. She was in an old basement, the walls crumbling and lined with shadows that danced like specters spinning in delight. Old toys littered the floor, some broken, others tattered, suspended in eternal stasis. Sarah recognized a doll, its eyes gleaming eerily in the gloom, a hollow smile painted across its cracked porcelain face. "Emma!" she shouted again, crawling on hands and knees through the clutter. The thick air felt suffocating, like a weight pressing down on her chest. She forced herself to keep moving, desperation fueling her every move. But with every breath, her instincts screamed at her not just to find her daughter but to escape. A low hum filled the air, resonating deep within her bones. She could feel the presence again, lurking just behind her, skirting in and out of sight like a phantom. She whirled around, eyes wide, scanning the abyss. "Where are you?" A flicker of movement caught her eye, a shadow flitting past the edge of a dimly lit corner. Heart pounding, she scrambled toward it, fueled by panic and hope. She called out again, "Emma." Suddenly, a shadow lunged at her from the darkness, the grotesque figure she thought had disappeared. The laughter returned, more haunting this time, twisted and unhinged. "Don't you want to play?" It crooned, wrapping itself into the spaces of her mind. "Join us forever. We have so much fun down here." Sarah recoiled, the laughter slicing through her sanity, clenching her throat with icy fingers. "No," she wouldn't give in. "Not now. Not ever. Emma, I'm coming." She screamed, lungs burning, heart racing. She stumbled through the basement, dodging debris, desperation lending her an adrenaline-infused strength. The hum intensified, shadows twisted with sinister intent. As she passed a cracked mirror, her reflection flickered back at her, a ghostly visage with wild eyes and tattered clothes. A creature of the dark. But beneath the grime, survival glinted like steel. "Emma!" From the back of the basement came a soft whimper. Sarah froze. The sound pierced the veil of dissonance, cutting through the chaos. She rushed toward it, fear making her steps almost frantic. "Mom!" The voice trembled, sweet and fragile. Relief surged through her, but it twisted with dread as the laughter rose again, erupting into a chaotic symphony of despair. The shadows started coalescing around her, the figure shifting closer, its grin a gaping maw. "Stay with us. Be one of us forever." Its voice coiled around her, insistent and maddening. "Shut up!" Sarah shouted, her voice shaking but resolute. She reached the far corner of the basement where a dim light broke through an old vent. She saw Emma huddled in a ball, terrified. "Get away from her!" Sarah cried, shielding her daughter with her body. The figure stopped, tilting its head like a curious predator. "Very interesting, this bond. It's always about family, isn't it?" Then, in an instant, the temperature dropped. Shadows swirled violently, and with a flicker, Sarah realized that the basement itself had begun to change. The walls pulsed, and cracks danced across the surface, dark tendrils slithering out, coiling around both mother and daughter. A blinding light blasted through the cracks, illuminating the suffocating darkness, casting away the nightmares, if only for a moment. But that moment was fleeting, and shadows recoiled with a vengeful hiss. "Time runs out," the figure whispered with deceptive sweetness. "You can't escape, you belong to the dark." With renewed urgency, Sarah turned to Emma, who was trembling, wide-eyed. "We have to go now. There's still a way out." But just as Sarah moved to grab her, the darkness surged forward, the laughter reaching a crescendo. Would she be too late? "Hop on!" Emma cried, pulling Sarah closer. Or would family be their salvation, even in the face of such unfathomable horror? As they huddled together, a glimmer of the unknown beckoned them upward, but would they dare leap into it, or would the shadows drag them back into silence? And in the moment before they moved, a thought struck Sarah: what if they were just pieces in a game far larger than they understood? The darkness quivered around them, as if waiting for Sarah and Emma to make a choice: stay in the damp grip of despair or leap, risking everything for a chance at freedom. The laughter grew louder, a relentless howl that pricked at the edges of Sarah's sanity. "Emma, hold on tight!" Sarah shouted, grabbing her daughter and pulling her close. The echoes of madness scratched at her brain, but she forced her feet to move, drawn toward that teasing sliver of light. The shadows lunged, tendrils of darkness twisting around her ankles, tugging her back toward the depths. Panic surged. She kicked against them, the cold, clammy grip wrapping tighter, the laughter shifting to an urgent, manic chant. "Don't go. Stay and play." "No!" she screamed, yanking her foot free, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She could feel Emma trembling next to her, fear radiating from her small frame. "Mom, the shadows, they want us." "I know, but we can't let them." Desperation clawed at Sarah. She glanced back over her shoulder. Dark shapes materialized, weaving through the air like smoke, eyes glimmering with malignant joy. They were delighted, relishing her suffering. Before she could register the idea, she swung Emma onto her back. The girl clung tightly, her breath hitching with dread, but Sarah felt the weight of determination settling in her stomach. Together, they could outrun whatever this was. They had to. She charged toward the light with renewed fervor, heart pounding in her chest like a war drum. The air shifted, the temperature rising as she drew closer, hot and suffocating, yet there was a promise embedded in that glow. Light could banish dark. But at the last moment, the laughter crescendoed into a deafening roar, overwhelming her senses. A sudden figure barreled past her, the grotesque visage grinning maniacally. It was closer now. Sarah could see the mark of twisted innocence in its features, a child dressed in a frayed costume, its eyes sunken, empty. "Don't go, don't leave me behind," it screeched, voice shredding through the night like glass. The spell of fear thrashed inside her. She flicked her gaze back at Emma, whose face was hidden against her back. "Stay with me," she urged. "We're almost there." They leaped into the light, Sarah willing her limbs to move faster. But as they crossed that threshold, the light flickered, splitting like fraying yarn. A cold gust rushed through, knifing at her skin and pulling at the edges of reality. The basement began to quake. Dust and debris rained down as if the entire structure was disintegrating around them. "Mom! It's falling!" Emma cried out, voice tinged with pure terror. "No!" Sarah roared, pushing through the panic. "We can't stop." Then, just like that, everything shifted. A dizzying swoosh filled her ears, and they were thrown, spinning and tumbling through what felt like a void. With a crash, they landed heavily, but where? Sarah blinked against the blinding light. The basement, the laughter, the shadows, they were all gone. They lay in a quiet clearing, verdant grass beneath them, the sun shining bright. It felt like a dream, a fleeting illusion of safety. But as Sarah gained her bearings, she gasped. Surrounding them were layers of tall, leafless trees, their branches clawing at the sky like gnarled fingers. The air buzzed with a disquieting energy. "Mom, are we safe?" Emma's voice quivered. Sarah opened her mouth to reassure her, but her voice caught in her throat. A slight movement in the trees caught her eye. Figures emerged from behind the trunks, shapes cloaked in shadows, but she could make out their outlines. Children. Dirty and gaunt, they whispered among themselves, pointing as if they recognized her, as if she had invited them to play. "Welcome," one of them called softly, a haunting smile stretching across its thin lips. "You've come to join us." Joined. Sarah's mind raced. It couldn't be. This was another trap. They were still trapped. "No, no." She breathed, gripping Emma tighter. "We need to leave." But the lack of fear in Emma's eyes struck her hardest. "They just want to play, Mom. Why can't we play?" A chilling realization settled over Sarah as the figures moved closer. The trees shifted, their branches swaying as if they had a life of their own, and the laughter began anew, an echo of the past, now dripping with malice. "Time to play," they sang, a twisted melody curling into the air, a song of both invitation and warning. Fingers of dread curled around Sarah's heart. What if escape was an illusion, and this was their new reality? As the shadows danced closer, the clearing shifted again, a vibrant color warping into black and white. What would happen next? In that moment, just as fear threatened to consume her, Sarah realized they hadn't completed their leap. The question lingered like a noose tightening around her neck. Were they truly safe, or had they just exchanged one nightmare for another? And when Emma stepped forward, entranced, Sarah knew she had to act fast. Before this place could claim them both, she had to make a choice to fight against the pull of the shadows that waited just beyond the grove, or surrender to an eternity of play that promised nothing but despair. Emma took a hesitant step forward, her tiny hand reaching out to the gaunt child nearest to her. The trees whispered, their dark branches swaying as if caught in a hidden wind, a malevolent life of their own. Fear gripped Sarah's heart, tightening like a vice. She lunged forward, pulling Emma back, desperately breaking the spell that had begun to ensnare her little girl. "Don't!" Sarah shouted, her voice raw with urgency. "We have to leave this place." Emma's wide eyes reflected innocence and curiosity, but her childlike wonder sparked a deeper dread within Sarah. The other children closed in, their hollow laughter rising like a dissonant chorus. Join us," they echoed, their voices blending into something sinister. "Look at you." One of the children spat, its skin stretched tight over sharp bones. "You don't belong here. But you can play, can't you?" "Don't listen to them, Emma." Sarah's heart pounded hard enough to drown out the chattering whispers. "They want to trap us." Emma hesitated, her expression shifting from fascination to confusion. The child in front of her had a face that looked familiar, twisted inside out, its features warped in a way Sarah couldn't quite comprehend. Was it someone she knew? As if sensing Sarah's thoughts, the gaunt child grinned wider, revealing gaps where teeth should have been. "We're all lost, like you. Come play forever." With a swift motion, Sarah turned to Emma, urgency firing through her veins. "We can't play. This is a trap. We have to run." She spotted a faint remnant of the earlier light they had crossed through. Could it lead them back? "But Mom, what if they're right?" Emma's voice trembled. "What if we're really lost?" "Don't say that." Panic clawed at Sarah's throat. She clutched Emma's shoulders. "We are not lost. We have each other, and I will not let them take you." The laughter warped into shrill wails as the children surged forward, shadows enveloping them, their forms twisting like smoke. Sarah's mind raced. She could almost hear the door to freedom creaking open with every inch they gained toward that fleeting light. "No!" A voice from behind shrieked, and the children hesitated, their expressions souring. The eerie melody twisted into shrieks that echoed through the trees, more desperate than before. "You can't leave. You belong here. Run!" Sarah shouted, propelling herself and Emma toward the light. The shadows lunged, grasping at her limbs, biting cold creeping up her legs, threatening to hold her back. She kicked and pulled, adrenaline surging through her. "Hold my hand!" Emma cried, her small fingers gripping Sarah's tightly, fighting against the chilling grasp of darkness that clawed at their heels. Each step felt like wading through molasses, the air thick with oppressive fear. They stumbled closer, and for a moment, just a moment, the light appeared brighter, blinding them with warmth and promise. But then, a fierce gale roared, echoing with laughter and sorrow, wrapping like chains around Sarah and Emma. What if Emma's voice wavered, uncertainty creeping in? What if it is safer to stay? Never! Sarah screamed, ripping through the shadows surrounding them. She refused to let despair take root, but doubt gnawed at her resolve. As they neared the light, she felt a shiver dance down her spine. "Mom!" Emma cried, her voice suddenly filled with dread. What if they're telling the truth? Suddenly, the children stopped, their whispering voices merging into a single, piercing cry. "Join us forever. You can't escape." The shadows thickened, swirling and rising like a ravenous storm, choking every thought with terror. Just as hope felt like it might slip away entirely, Sarah caught a glimpse of the light flickering in the distance, beckoning like a beacon. She steeled herself to push forward, but the darkness recoiled, dragging her backward. With a final, desperate lunge, Sarah tightened her grip on Emma's hand, ready to sacrifice everything for the light. As she flung herself forward, a chilling realization struck her: the boundary between fear and freedom was starting to blur. The moment she thought she felt warmth mingling with the cold of shadows, she screamed, "Let us go." And then, the ground beneath them trembled violently, echoing a promise that somehow, somewhere, something twisted awaited them in the dark. What would happen if they never crossed into the light? "Mom, we have to." Emma's voice was cut off, the darkness thickening, and Sarah felt the heavy weight of dread settle over them like a funeral shroud. Just then, the trees shifted one last time, parting like the curtains of a cruel stage. What lay beyond that veil? What awaited them as they clawed toward escape? The next choice loomed, an agonizing decision that hung over them like death itself. Would they ever truly find sanctuary, or had they merely walked into the jaws of another nightmare? The air surged, thick and suffocating, as Sarah and Emma stumbled into the clearing. It felt like stepping through a grotesque portal, a contaminated threshold where reality warped. The trees loomed behind them, their gnarled branches clawing at the sky, as if they were trying to drag the two back into the depths of darkness. "Mom, are we safe?" Emma's voice quivered, a sound wavering between hope and despair. Her wide eyes took in the unsettling surroundings, the shadows shifting in the corners, threats waiting to spring forth. Before Sarah could respond, a low rumble filled the clearing, but it lacked any earthly sound. It trembled through her bones, raising the tiny hairs on the back of her neck. "Stay close," she whispered, though her heart felt ready to explode at any moment. In front of them stood a boundary of mist, swirling and alive, pulsing like a heart. It flickered dimly, and with every pulse, shadows coiled around the edges. "What is that?" Emma asked, clutching her mother's hand tighter, nails digging into Sarah's skin, almost painfully. "I don't know." The words fell hollow from Sarah's lips. She couldn't shake the feeling that whatever lay beyond hadn't been meant for them. Tentatively, they stepped closer. The mist cleared just enough to reveal crumbling stones beneath their feet, ancient and covered in unrecognizable symbols. A chill swept through, snatching the breath from Sarah's lungs. "It looks like they're watching." The whisper came from behind, so soft at first. But it grew louder, a chorus of hushed voices, sinister and joyful. "They're watching you." Suddenly, the ground shook again. What felt like a million tiny hands clawed at Sarah's ankles, trying to pull her down as she fought to keep her balance. "No!" Emma screamed, but the air felt heavy, thickening with dread. The mist shifted violently, revealing images submerged within a child's face trapped in terror, adults screaming, and twisted figures lurking just out of reach. Each visage called out silently, urging them to look away. "Mom!" Emma cried, stepping back. "Run!" But a sense of dread pinned Sarah to the spot, as if the very ground was thinking, calculating. Sarah couldn't tear her gaze from the swirling horror. There was something in those images, something that felt achingly familiar yet wholly foreign. "Emma, it's too late," came another voice, chillingly close. This time, it was as if the shadows themselves spoke. They coiled around her feet like serpent heads, testing her resolve. Darkness laughed, that grotesque laughter ringing out like wind chimes in a storm. With a gasp, Sarah broke free, dragging Emma along. They swung back towards the tree line, where the gaunt children had reappeared, their skeletal frames stark against the dim light. They pointed, their grins gaping, wide jaws unhinged as if to swallow the world whole. "You can't hide. Join us." In a moment of bursting clarity, Sarah understood, they were not bound to just one nightmare. Each choice they made slipped them into a new, more twisted version of the same hell. Every step back was laden with the weight of regret and pain. "Run!" she shouted again, this time her voice laden with fear and defiance. She yanked Emma along, but the shadows thickened. They pressed down, wanting them to surrender, wanting them to stay. As they raced back, the children's laughter morphed into a horrid chant, "You can't escape. You can't escape." Just ahead, the flickering light grew dimmer, receding like an illusion. Panic surged, blinding reason. Sarah grabbed Emma, their fingers interlocking, feeling the cold seep through every fiber of their being. The mist churned behind them, and in that confusion, a nightmarish realization dawned. It wasn't just the shadows they were being followed, hunted. "Emma, hold on tight," Sarah breathed, adrenaline propelling them forward. The light was their beacon, a last hope or perhaps a cruel trap. As they plunged into the chilling embrace of the trees, the storm of laughter surrounding them amplified, filling the air with a terror's cape of foreboding whispers. "You can never leave." And then, a flash of something bright passed through the darkness, hinting at a path that would lead them away or deeper into despair. Would they reach it before the shadows consumed them completely? Would it lead to salvation or something far worse? As they launched themselves toward that flicker, the veil of the unknown hung ominously in front of them, daring them to cross into the madness that awaited. Sarah felt the weight of despair pressing down on her like a thick fog as she and Emma barreled through the thick tree line. The cacophony of laughter echoed behind them, a haunting reminder that shadows chased them, hungry and relentless. "Mom, where are we going?" Emma gasped, fear lacing her voice. "Anywhere but here," Sarah replied, holding her daughter's hand tightly. Her fingers felt warm and strong in that moment, a lifeline in a sea of chaos. The trees thinned ahead, revealing a clearing, glimmering with an otherworldly light. An ancient stone archway framed the entrance, its twisted vines glowing softly in hues of blue and green. Was it a trap, or was it the salvation they desperately sought? "I can't feel them anymore," Emma exclaimed, her voice brimming with hope. "Let us not waste time," Sarah urged, darting forward. Each step brought them closer to the ethereal glow, to a chance at freedom. As they approached the archway, shadows danced just beyond its boundaries, writhing in protest. "Join us," they hissed, their voices a chilling concoction of laughter and sorrow. "You will never escape your wrong," Sarah shouted, defiance rising like a flame within her. "We are leaving this place." With fierce determination, they rushed through the archway. The moment they crossed its threshold, the oppressive darkness dissolved, replaced with a warm, blinding light. Sarah squeezed her eyes shut, holding Emma close, her heart racing. The glow enveloped them in a cocoon of safety that felt too good to be true. When the light dimmed, Sarah opened her eyes to a breathtaking scene, a field of golden grass stretched endlessly under a blue sky, free of shadows. The joyous laughter of children echoed in the distance. "Are we safe?" Emma whispered, wide-eyed, glancing around. "I think so," Sarah breathed, a cautious smile lifting her lips. But that peace was short-lived as she recalled the warning from the shadows. They could easily be lured back, trapped in a cycle of despair. "We can't linger here. We need to be vigilant." Suddenly, the laughter turned sinister, twisting its tone. Dark clouds rolled in overhead, blocking the sun. Sarah's chest tightened as the shadows began to creep along the edges of the field. They were not free yet. "Mom, what's happening?" Emma whimpered, her hand slipping slightly from Sarah's grip. Gripped by panic, Sarah crouched down, framing her face with her hands. "Emma, listen to me. We have to run. No looking back." But before they could dash away, the shadows surged, forming figures that crept closer, faces contorted in agony and longing. "You cannot leave, you belong to us." "No!" Sarah cried out, pulling Emma toward her. "We are not yours." In that moment of struggle, Sarah drew upon the strength of every motherly instinct coursing through her. She caught a glimpse of the archway that had led them here, half hidden now in the encroaching darkness. "That's our way back. Trust me, Emma." "Okay, Mom." Emma nodded, determination igniting in her eyes. They sprinted, propelled by urgency. The shadows chased aggressively, their cold fingers grazing the backs of their necks, whisper-shouting threats. Stay! Stay! The archway loomed larger, the light growing brighter, calling to them with the promise of safety. Sarah kept her focus, her heart pounding in tandem with their frantic footsteps. Then, with one last burst of speed, they dove through the arch, flooding once more into the blinding light. The world shifted, colors blending and swirling like a whirlpool, the shadows fading into a distant memory. When Sarah regained her footing, she stumbled onto the familiar streets of Maplewood, the sun setting behind her. Her heart soared as she took in the soft hues of dusk, calm replacing fear. But then, a flicker of movement caught her eye, those familiar figures watching from across the street. Parents, neighbors, people she thought she could trust. The shadows hadn't fully disappeared. Panic surged again, but this time, Sarah's resolve anchored her. Emma squeezed her hand tightly. "What do we do, Mom?" "Now we stand guard," Sarah whispered, fortified by the clarity that settled over her. "We're going to make sure this place is safe for us and everyone else." Together, they stepped forward into the dimming light, ready to face questioned alliances, ready to confront whatever darkness lingered. For the shadows would not win, they would not have their peace. As Sarah looked at Emma, the sweetness of her daughter's innocence filled her spirit. They were still here. They were alive. And though darkness had tried to come for them, they had fought back. "Are you ready?" she asked her daughter, determination shining in her eyes. "Always." Emma grinned. They shared a moment, mother and daughter united against the night. Together, they turned towards their home, where shadows might linger but where their love would keep the darkness at bay. And as they walked into the twilight, the final reminder lingered: the shadows could never take from them what they fought so hard to hold on to. The sun set, but the dawn of a new fight awaited, a fight they were more than ready to take on. You need to subscribe now to this channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. They matter. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means the world.